Okay, happy Tuesday, everybody. We have been talking about all things art before we got started here today, so we are ready to talk art.
Yes.
We're going to specifically talk about color because everything that you paint or craft has to start with a color choice. And if you don't know how to do that, then that's unfortunate because then it's going to feel confusing and feel mixed up a little bit.
Yeah.
So I think that that's a nice place to start. We're going to use a lot of really big words, but I want you to think about the big words. There will not be a test, but I'm going to show you a lovely tool that will help you navigate a little bit of just the surface area of color.
Well, it's something that people have asked for, so it's kind of one of those things. We always try to think very hard about how we can bring to you guys the things that will help you with your
make it easier.
Crafting and painting and stenciling and all of those things.
Yeah, agreed. So, shall we?
Yeah, hi, I'm Carrie, and that's Patty.
Oh, hey, and we're StudioR12. Yes.
Welcome.
Every now and again, we just like right on our.
She is laser focused today.
You guys do not believe that.
So before I let her roll, a couple of quick things. We are StudioR12 Stencils. We have to be the biggest stencil company in the world.
Well, we have to have the most selection. That means, I don't know if that makes us the biggest, but it makes us the most selection.
Yes.
We have almost 7,000 stencil titles. And plus then times sizes. Most stencil companies do not manufacture their own stencils. They send them out to get done, and so because we do our own manufacturing, then we make them in every size imaginable. You wouldn't believe how many sizes. So then you times 7,000 times 3 to 5 or 10 sizes each, and you end up with a lot of stencils. Yeah, a bajillion. I mean, that's right.
So you can check us out on StudioR12.com. If you are new and you haven't signed up for the StudioR12 newsletter yet, when you go to our website, you will get a pop-up that'll come across. It'll give you a big wheel. You can enter your email address and sign up for our newsletter. You might get a discount with your spinning of the wheel. You can only do it once. And then once you get signed up, we send out newsletters almost every day of the week with tips and tricks and new video releases and sales and all of that good stuff. It's a really good additional resource for you to learn and grow.
And it seems like, an everyday blah, 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 but we know that on a Monday you're going to be busy. And then on a Wednesday you might have, 10 minutes to take a look. Don't feel like you have to read every word, but the resource is invaluable. You've got myself, 35 years of painting experience coming at you and with all the learning and the techniques, and we have all of the gathered tools and all the gathered experiences and blah, blah, blah. Blah, blah, blah. Blah,
blah, blah. That's what we do most of the time. But we're also on YouTube, and our YouTube is where we are live on YouTube today, but we also release tutorial videos practically weekly. And last week, we released the first part of a new series. It is our Crackle Boo Pumpkin. And so part one was just showing you how to do this super large, thick, chunky, really rustic crackle background. So this week is going to be part two. Patty's going to show you how to crackle over crackle. We are also going to
drop shadow.
I show
you the best cheater way to do a stencil brush drop shadow effect. You're going to want to know that one. It is remarkable. I invented it this week.
I haven't seen it yet, so I will learn that too.
Yeah, it's amazing.
We're going to do banding, we're going to do stenciling, we're going to do drop shadow. So we have a lot of great things, and this is just part two. We'll have one other part for you.
And then the third one. So what I like about this, if you want to know how to do really big crackle, I forgot that crackle medium and the thick paint, I glom it on, actually levels. You're going to learn all these cool tricks.
Yeah.
There is no bumpy texture, and when you see how much, you just want to go there just to see how much paint did I actually load on top of that. because there's no texture to this at all.
Yeah.
And there's just so many neat tricks and tips in that. You're gonna love it. And then number 2, you're gonna learn all of the basics to do, drop shadowy banding, all that kind of stuff. And then week 3 or the 3rd release, you're gonna learn how to decorate and take it like over the top. So you can stop and start in any one of those. It's technique, but it's also a really cute project.
Really
and we have this on our website.
Not yet.
Oh, not yet.
We will have
Next
this on
week.
our website this coming weekend.
Okay, cool.
Yep.
Yeah, so awesome. And that's a really cool pumpkin shape. And it's got the, why can't I Joanna Gaines in my head? The shiplap boards kind of thing. Yeah, that means shiplap.
It's got that.
Yeah.
And then also a couple quick announcements for those of you who've been keeping your eye out on our website. Brushes are back in stock. Our blue favorite dome brush is back in stock. It looks like all of Patty's are dirty.
This one is not. This one is.
So our dome brushes are back in stock, and I also just got word before we started that our wide palette knife is back in stock. I'll share the link for that. We only have a very few available.
Yeah, there's you guys, this has been, it's like, I think it made in China. So anyway, this has been a problem product for us. So if you want to do that really cool, like pull technique that I've showed in how to do your layered paint, this is the brush for you. There are like the number of my fingers, that's how many we have. So
Yes.
you want to be the first one to go grab that and get in there and do the thing.
And we've been talking about it a lot lately, and we just got it back in stock.
And
so
it's
you'll
so
definitely
fun
want to-
because like every stinking other week, something is out.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter what we do. We just are gonna keep working for you. That's what we're gonna do.
All right, I'm going to let Patty introduce our new thing, and then I'm going to pop in and talk about it and another new product that we have today.
Cool. Okay, guys, let's get started. Let's talk about color. So a few weeks ago, we introduced our color charts, and this is actually a giant sticker, which is just kind of fun. You could stick it on whatever you want. There are 2 of them. They're organized in warm colors and cool colors. They have information on them, and this is kind of what we want to talk a little bit more about today. The DA is the Deco Art paint color. The SW is the Sherwin-Williams paint color, and the hex is your computer paint color. So it's the same number equals that color, and then you get your visual of the color. So if you're working in, say, folk art or plaid or apple barrel or Delta from a bunch of years ago or whatever brand, then you can match it up visually so that when we do a project. Can you hold up the pumpkin again? So when we do this project, you can match this up and see which color will get you closest when you look at the picture, and then you can take the paints you have and make them work.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to kind of not feel so restrained by color bottle choices. Okay, so then it also has words, symbols like V5, what the heck is a V5? And then O, what the heck is O? So let's talk about that. So they all relate to a color wheel. Okay, so the color wheel is what all color, I'm gonna use air quotes, theory comes from. The reason they say it's theory is because it's not rules. Okay, so when you get into color theory, I studied it for a really long time, and you would just keep finding people that had different theories, and it's not a science, it's not a rule. So they're just suggestions. But what we want to do with this color mixing mat, it is a mat that you can actually mix your paint on. And what we did is we gave you a value scale, and that's what one of those numbers relates to. So the value is going to be your value 3 is going to be number 3. So what we've done is this is basement, and actually we probably should have reversed that, but value number 1 is going to start in your basement on the bottom step, and you've got 10 stairs out to the sunshine. Okay, so the top step is going to be out in the sunshine. It's going to be number 10. So you go 1, 2, 3. So value 3 is going to be one of these dark values. Your middle values are going to be right here in the middle, and then your light values are going to be over here. Okay, so when you look at your V number, that's going to be your value, and that means this value scale. Okay, and then for mixing colors on this mat, now you can use your Mylar that we are selling, and we cut these into like 3 sizes, just the size of a project or whatever. You can wash this off. Our stencils are reusable, so you can wash them, and we have a video for that, so you can take a look. This could lay over the top of your value scale. Unfortunately, it's a cloudy Mylar, and so it's not completely see-through, and so it doesn't give you the complete gray. Let's talk about, anybody want to know what the gray mat's for? Okay, let's talk about that. So the gray mat is in the middle grayscale. Okay, so it's right smack in the middle. What happens when you mix a color, so we talk a lot about mixing colors here, because if you just need a slightly different color and you sneak in a little bit of yellow into your green, you're just gonna end up with a yellower green. You don't need to buy another whole bottle of paint. So when you mix on white, what can happen is you end up with what they call, this is a big word moment, simultaneous contrast. Okay, so if I take a really bright color and a really light color and I mix on top of one or the other of those, I'm gonna be like confused. It's almost like somebody with a really strong opinion can cloud your understanding of things. That's what happens with color. So mixing on a neutral color gives you a more kind of informed knowledge of what color you're actually mixing. And I think sometimes when we mix on top of this, this cloudy on top of our wood, I think we're getting a little bit of kind of a middle value contrast like that. So you could also do that. You could get some, paint a gray board and then keep that always on your gray board. Anyway, and then this has your color wheel. That to me is the most important part. So I want to talk about how to make things pretty. Okay, so that's what we want when we mix color, right? So we'll talk with our values first. If I had a very strong separation of values, if I had a really high contrast, then I would be looking at something like black on white, or a dark color, white on a dark color, black on a light color. And so we have that. These are examples of high contrast. High contrast can be how you make something pretty. So when you're looking for something that like really pops, then a lot of times, a lot of the DIY signs will be black on gray or white on gray, but they're usually middle gray. So that's a way that you can get really good, pretty with contrast. So contrast is your friend. Now contrast can be manipulated, so not in a bad way. So let's come here and here. Got these fork knife, and it's sticky because I used a sticky thing on it. Fork knife and spoon. So if you look, can we see all 3 of these? Mm-hmm. Okay. So if you look at this one, you see that I have a high contrast. Okay. So it's not like as high as the white, but it's a good strong contrast. If you look at this one and this one, you can see that I have something that is almost, if you squint, if you use your little peepers right here and you squint at it, it almost disappears. Okay, so that is a really good way to manipulate your contrast so it doesn't take over. Sometimes if you squint at something, I dare you all to squint at this right now, and you're gonna see like the entire thing. You're gonna really be able to tell. Okay, and then do the same thing with this guy, and you're gonna be like, oh, I almost can't see the letters. Okay, so that is how you can manipulate that contrast. So when you wanna layer things, you're gonna use a low contrast. You can do a couple things when you're using contrast. You can use paint colors that are close to each other. You can use sanding. In this case, this one started out the same as this one, but I sanded through this one and I made it like kind of closer to the background color. So those are some ways that you can use your contrast when you want to have something interesting, but you don't want it to take over. Okay, so that's a contrast moment. And so this is how to paint things pretty. Okay, then the next thing that you can do is your color choices, okay? And then we're gonna flip them. Actually, I'm not gonna flip the mat yet. So you've got your 3 main colors. They're gonna be the ones that all color are made out of, and everything is mixed between them. And that's with, I'll do the Roy Gibb, is that the Roy G, do it again? Biv. I never learned that in school, so I don't have that like ancient like art school thing, you know. But what we do here is, what's neat about the color wheel is sometimes it's harder when you're down here after we've mixed white. So this is your concentrated color before they mix anything into it. And this is where you start mixing in your lighter color and you get lighter, lighter, lighter. Sometimes it's hard to pull out whether or not this is an orange or a green or whatever when it gets really far down here. So that's why it's so handy to have these things on here. So like underneath the Mylar, when we're over here and we have GB, so that's a green blue. When we have a B, it's a blue. So you know what family you're working in. So these are gonna give you like the key to the color kingdom as far as knowledge, and then this will be your map, okay? So then we come over here, this is where it gets, this has got your terminology. So, and then these have examples. These have your color families, okay? And then these are the different contrasts or color contrasts that they use to make things pretty. And I'm gonna start with one that is super common.
So real quick, before we continue on, we did have a question about what size this is. So this is an 11 by 17 and it is laminated. It is 2 sides, so you can, it's laminated so you can put your paint right on it, on the gray portion. And then it is on sale today. So since we are introducing it today, it is, our color mat is on sale. We have also made a combo set with the color mat and the paint color guide, so you can get them both together. That is also on sale today. But if you go into the color mat listing, which I shared the link for, there's a long list of all the things that you will find on here, what all it does, how to use it, and all that good stuff.
Yeah, it's a really, really well thought out. Dustin's sitting on the other side of this camera right here, and he is a art degree graduate, blah, 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 and sorry, blah, blah, blah. He did smile. And he knows the technical. I'm a 11th grade, didn't pass art school person and had to self-teach over 35 years. So we have 2 different kinds of experience coming here. The artistic trained and then the DIY trained. So, and then just like rough years of experience, you know? Okay, so then back on the back, we have just the different examples, but let's start with a couple. I'm gonna show you real world examples. I don't expect you to understand it all. I don't think you should like immerse yourself, but when you need a color or you need to understand why something is working in your life, then it's nice to have like a map to the rules or to the theory. Okay, so the number one thing that we're all experienced with is complementary. So when you get into Christmas time, you are going to be complementary, and what complementary means is opposite on the color wheel. So ignore the fact that that's blue and gold. If I go green to red, I am complementary. And many of us are experienced with this because when you have friends or you get married or any of that kind of stuff, when you work well with people, you complement each other and you tend to have opposite tendencies, which bring out like the beauty in both of you. So that's a really neat way to think of complementary, is just opposites attract, that kind of thing. So Christmas is a really good example. Easter's another really good example. Honestly, a lot of the holiday color theories, color themes are all kind of a complementary thing. So they're just really strong colors. We all love Christmas because the colors are wonderful. We love Halloween, the colors are wonderful, blah, blah, blah. Okay, we'll keep going. All right, so monochromatic is something that the world of DIY, if you're on Pinterest, the world of DIY is just like fraught with this. And that means you're gonna do one color. And now this is actually, you're gonna say, well, that's 3 colors. Black and white are not actually considered colors. They're a value or whatever, but they're a color to us, but they're not really colors because they're gonna play well with all the kids. Okay, so they're the middle child. Welcome to my world.
Welcome to Patty's world.
Yeah, oh, I'm a middle child. So anyway, but this is monochromatic because this is our plaid stencil. And then you use white as your background, you put your orange on, and then you use your black. So that's a super easy palette to come up with. You can do it in any color that you love and any of the variations.
Speaking of color, Elizabeth asked, does this mat
Yeah.
only work with your paint colors?
No, all. Oil paints, acrylic paints, chalk paints, any color, honestly, markers. You're not going to, you're not going to mix a marker and I don't know if oil will mix on this, so I don't know about that. But you can very much use all the information on here. It's the information that is the most important. The mixing is also important, but you really want to have this information so you can make good choices. And then when you go onto Pinterest, say, Pinterest is where I would go. Google is too technical. Google wants to match all your words. Pinterest wants to serve you the pretty things. And I don't know why their algorithms work differently, but they do. So when I go to Pinterest, I might choose 3 or 4 things. I might do a little screen snap, pull them in to whatever document or, on my phone or whatever the thing is. And then I might want to be like, why did I choose all the same? And then I could go to this and I could be like, okay, each one of these, and let's go to the next one because that's a good exercise. I'm going to go on the back side because that's where this one is triad. So this is colors that are separated by the same amount of spaces. Okay, so when I do this guy, this is one of our Christmas ones, and I will be drinking the red. Anyway, so you very obviously you have red and green, which are, your complementary colors, and then you throw in a yellow, and, you've got your thing going on. It's really important that you can pull out the colors and you can point to them on the thing, and then you know what you're dealing with. So that's what I love about having a color wheel. I think every craft, DIY, art studio, everything should have a color wheel someplace. Stick it up. We need to make a sticker.
Okay.
Do a color wheel sticker. I think that'd be fabulous.
Quick question.
Dustin's nodding his head, Carrie's writing it down, and Steve's on the other side going, I want one.
I want one. Amelia asked, is there an easier way of finding a value of the color?
Because we've already done that work.
So for our colors, yes, the value is on there.
Yeah. And so what you do, I'm going to pull out a color. Amelia, what color? I'll let her tell me what color. So let's go one more. I've got, okay, these two are analogous. Okay, and so they are on one side of the color wheel or the other. You can relate analogous to politics in a way. One side or the other, in the middle is going to be your gray zone, right? But so that means that whatever side, in this case, I'm using the green and the yellow. I do have a little bit of brown, so that goes into the orange, so I'm definitely on one side or the other. The Happy Halloween on the wall back there, I don't know, can you get that? Is the same thing. It's got your pumpkin orange color, you've got your yellow, you've got your faded down values of the orange, and it just sits, huh?
Can't hear you when you're backwards.
Oh, hi. Okay, so anyway, that's an example of analogous too. Analogous, I think is how it's actually pronounced. All right, so, and then did she pick a color? Okay, well, I'm gonna pick one for you. And let's go into number 57. Okay, so number 57 is very obviously, when you lay that just on there, you're gonna be, I'm a blue-green, right? And then when you're looking at your values, God bless you.
Sorry.
When you're looking at your values, you can use the value scale and you can just kind of lay your bottle of paint if it's clear. These are clear, the Deco Art one's a little bit cloudy, so you could spit out a little paint and use a little piece of paper or something to move it up and down. What I do, okay, ready? This is the big technical skill set. What I do is I squint, and if I'm squinting at this, I'm gonna be somewhere in these values. As soon as I can start seeing it, if it disappears, that's the value it is. If it doesn't disappear, like over here, the super high contrast, then you know it's not there, and you just keep moving it up. And so that is how you can find a value, but you just squint, you use a value scale. That's why this is so important, is the value scale, the color wheel. You need these two things so that you are prepared with knowledge, if that makes sense. Okay. We're gonna move along with a couple more examples. If you guys have questions, this is literally, people have studied this for like years and years and years and years. So I'm not pretending that I know everything, and I'm not pretending you need to know everything. I just want you to be able to choose your colors. So if I was choosing colors, and so we'll pretend with the egg here. Okay, so we've got a little bit of a split complementary thing going here. Okay, so here's my example of split complementary. If I started with my yellow, now we're not using their example, we're using this example. If I started with my yellow orange over here, and then I move across and I'm over here with my blues, and I've got a little bit of reds and teals and stuff like that. I'm dancing around in there. But the point is, I know I wanted a yellow egg. So if you know where you start, then if I know I want a navy blue thing, then I can play around with how much contrast I want. I could super easily do a lot of these colors. Now, what you want to be careful of is sometimes they don't get along with each other. So you might not want to put, I don't know, like a red violet on top of this blue. In some cases it might work, but it gives you like information so that you can choose the next color. So I know I wanted yellow. So now I want a blue truck. Do I want my blue truck to lean towards teal and green? I don't know. Let me consult the color wheel, right? And then you can make decisions based on what your starting place is, and then you can go from there, if that makes sense. And then you also can make decisions on your values, knowing that this yellow, if I was looking at that yellow, I'll put that on top of that. And I'm way down here in these colors right here, so I'm squinting. Then in order to get my contrast up, I did some shading around the edges. And so to do that, I'd look, and with the contrast, this is a really good guideline. If I start down here at the number 10, if I go too many, then I'm super high contrast. If I go just one, then I'm super low contrast. Okay, so if I want it to be pretty in general, not manipulating the contrast one way or the other, then I usually will skip 2 values. And so you can change the value. I feel like I need to pause and blah, 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 blah. I'm doing a word thing. If you want to change the value of your color, and that's on the back of this as well, there's so much information on this thing. You've got your tint and you've got your shade. If you want to make it darker, like I did over here, you could put black in it, or you can put white in it, and that's going to be a tint or a shade. You can also mix your color with the opposite on the color wheel, so the complementary. So if I wanted to, I'm going to go red and green. If I put my reds and my greens together, it's going to make kind of a muddy color, okay? But if I put just a little bit of it, it's going to make it darker or lighter depending on which way I'm going. So super, super helpful to have one of these so that you know. Like I even just carry around a little business card size one so that when I'm out and about making choices, I will make choices based on the color wheel, or I'll get online and be like, okay, which one? I had to choose colors for my house recently. Holy moly.
That was a long process.
That was like a year or 2.
Yeah.
The stones in my house were a violet color, and my door is a yellow color. I wanted to keep the yellow. Mm-hmm. I didn't want a purple house. So I went through this whole rigmarole, but I had to have the color wheel in front of me while I was choosing these colors, and just had to fight my way through it. I ended up with a green leaning gray. It's ridiculous. Yeah.
We had a question that said, if I wanted to do a buffalo plaid on top of a red board, but didn't want it to be super loud and proud, what color would I maybe want to use?
So don't forget the value of your neutrals. Okay, so neutrals are super fun.
We have the buffalo plaid there. It's not loud, but we could also do the jolly that has the more maroon of a pattern. The one behind you, Dustin, can you grab that one? Yeah, that jolly, because that's more of a muted, so it's not
this
black.
Is black. This is black on the burgundy. So what we've done here, And this is kind of a burgundy on a burgundy. Okay, so this is a little bit more bold and stand out than this one. So when we're talking about darkness of color, that's when we're talking about your value scale. And so when you can figure out your value scale, that is when you're going to know that something is pretty, if that makes sense. And you have to decide like how much contrast you want. But contrast, so you have your contrast, you have your color, and then you have your color family. So well, I guess color family is color. I'm being silly. And then darkness and lightness. So those are like the three things you need to be concerned with. And that is what you can use that thing for right there. And I think I've got, I am fresh out of examples. Do we have any questions left?
Yes, I have one, but before we get to it real quick, I have announced a couple winners on YouTube, and I have a list of people who I'm going to message on Facebook who have been commenting and asking questions. And you guys, when we were doing our research on our new brush that we just added, we ordered them in all of the sizes. I think we ordered about 20 different sizes.
They came in like every half-inch increment. Like it was like, here's a 1, I'm a little bit bigger, and you couldn't tell the difference.
Right. So we selected
every third.
A good from small to large range, but what that means is we have a lot of them that
we didn't list.
They're great brushes, but we just decided that we just weren't going to carry all of the sizes. So what we decided to do was to give these away to you guys. It's not something that they're going to be available. These sizes aren't going to be available. They are just...
But they're really complementary to the sizes we're carrying.
Yes, very much so. And
they're a neat brush, you guys. I use that in the Crackle pumpkin project.
Yes, and I think that I was just writing down that we should do like 5 ways to use this brush.
It's
in
an upcoming
live
brush.
So these are good for our.
Well, we used it in this guy right here. That was how we got this like fade right here. So I drug it through the paint and just kind of smeared it. So it's kind of like a dry brushing brush.
And I think we have it listed as a feathering and antiquing brush.
Does a great job
so
of
we
antiquing.
Currently only have one size available because you guys have loved them and they have sold out. The biggest size is actually Patty's favorite size of it. And we have 10 left, but lucky for you, we have a bunch to give away. So if you are a winner today, that's what you will be getting, a free brush.
I love it, love it, love it. All right, guys, I hope I melted hippie noodles today.
I have one question.
Yeah. I feel bad. That was like word birth, you know?
No, we've had a lot of people say that this is something that is hard, that they struggle with, but every time we do a video, it kind of gives them a little bit more.
Yeah,
and so it's kind of like we're eating the elephant, where we're taking just a bite and giving it to them. So with red, if you tint it with white, it becomes pink.
Yes.
So which she says, to me, seems a different color other than a lighter red. How does that work?
Yeah, so, well, I mean, it's honestly, if you take your red and you tint it with white, the color that it does become is pink. That is absolutely true. So what you're going to be doing is you're going to be looking at maybe some things that you can do next to your, so if you want a lighter red, then you might go into your like orange family and, you know, get you over there into an orangey or lighter color. So for example, I tend to mix like, this is like an orangey family kind of red color. If I wanted to make this lighter, I would probably mix it. See how they almost are family? And that is something that, that I talk about quite a bit, and it's a little bit like weird. It's like family tree stuff. But if you mix two families together, then you've got, you know, family. You've got your blood relatives. When you mix two paints together, you have blood relatives. So if you can mix with a common color sometimes, and that will help. So sometimes I might choose like an orange, and then I might mix a little bit of the orange in every color that I'm using. This is way more advanced than crafting and DIYing. But if you want to make a common color, you could, and then that's on the back of here too, you can tone with a gray, or you can tone with a common color, and that will make all of your colors get along. And that's another way to do it. You can also tone with value. So you can contrast and then you can tone.
Right.
You know, it's fun.
Can I ask a
Yeah.
super basic? Can you just mix something on the mat?
Yeah.
Can you just show
let's
how
just
we would
that,
do it?
with the two colors that I was just talking about. And okay, so we'll take an orange and our little persimmon color, or actually we wanted red. Sorry. Okay, being silly there. So we take our mixing palette knife. It's offset so you don't run your hand through things. And so we'll take our little bit of red. And then what I do when I mix colors, so mixing is interesting, mixing is fun. Always, always, always mix a little of your dark into your light color, because otherwise you'll end up with an ocean of mud. It's a really common thing. So you put your two piles there. Excuse me, I've got a little hiccup burp going on. Okay, so then I would pick up just a little bit of my paint, pull it out from my pile. And so you notice that that is not pink, okay? And so then maybe I say, but so you notice if I squint at my palette, I can really see this color, and I can really see that color, but this one's getting neutral. So I know, and then let's paper towel. I almost didn't wear an apron today because I was like, I'm not painting today.
I'm not painting.
And then here I am. Okay, so if you wanted to, you could go over here and you could hold squinting at my palette. I think I'm going to say that that's probably in that family right there.
And these are number 4 and 18?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then your number 18, we can go up here, and when it disappears, and it's all going to be relative. Sometimes you might be somewhere in the middle, you know, so don't get locked into like one thing. But now I have my middle color, and let me get that evenly on my palette knife. So the little palette knife is really nice for this like exercise as well. So I think I disappear right about here, maybe right about there. Yeah. What I like about it is you can just wipe it right off. So you can just take Zep cleaner, any of the cleaners, wipe it off, clean it off, really lovely. So then you could take from there, you could take a white. So say you get it into a color family you like. And I could pick up, I always wipe off with, and I could go into just a little edge. I always go into the little edge of things. Not enough. Well, in this case, it's my medium color. So, but yeah, so I know I just want the edge. Did you say because it's the light into the dark, Steve?
No.
Okay. Anyway, but so I can move it down along, or you could go another direction. Like there's so many ways, so many places. If I wanted to brighten it up. So now I'm just kind of manipulating this color right here. Let me get some of that off of there. I could, no, that's not even enough to tell. Okay, let's mix a little bit more in. So go there, a bit more. This is when we start making the ocean of mud. Okay, so if I wanted to brighten it up, I could go into like a little bit of a high contrast and give it a brightness. So it's going to be like the same family. What I like about this is it's like when you go to the family reunion and you see, you know, Uncle Joe's face on, you know, this grandkid or whatever, and you're like, oh, there you are, you know. And so when you keep within a family of colors, it makes it super easy to mix things that are going to get along, if that makes sense. So yeah, I think my analogy at some point falls apart at some place, but
no, we've had a lot of people saying that they've learned a lot today.
Yeah. This is keeping, you know, knowing your contrast levels, knowing not to skip. The neat story that somebody told me was if you pretend like the Value Bridge was over the Amazon River, okay, and not the Amazon store, the Amazon jungle river.
It's about the same
With
size,
the
though.
crocodiles in it, that could, snap or whatever. And pretend like you needed to walk across, but there were boards missing. Like you could safely skip, say, 2 boards, but when you get to 3 boards, you risk falling into the river. Okay, so skipping just 2, you could do that. You could go up 2 steps at a time in your house, but you cannot probably do 3 unless you have your husband's
My
long
husband,
legs.
yes.
He's very tall. But yeah, so that's a good way to know when you're keeping your colors in a place. If I did a last little bit here, and then we'll jump off of this. If I had done this yellow in its brightest everywhere, you wouldn't be able to see any of the other art. You wouldn't be able to see the bits. So what I did is I used it, next analogy, right, as seasoning. So if you think about your strong tones, your highlights or your shadows as salt and pepper, then you would use just a little bit of the strong to season the dish, and you would use kind of some neutral flavors that got along with each other for the rest of the dish. So
One more question on your mixing.
we can do this all day, all day.
Why did you choose yellow to brighten it?
Because yellow is a bright color. Also then, if you come over here, right? So if you think about warm and cool, so that's on these 2 sheets. If I was to do anything today, I would make sure I had these sheets because that just helps so much. You have a lot of background information. If you are ready to talk about all the color mixing and stuff, then you're ready for this. And it's just good to have around. But knowing this will tell you the values and stuff. Anyway, but this is all your cool colors, and these are all your warm colors, okay? And so when you're on your color wheel, so we're down here, right? You go, let's see, zoop. This is gonna be everything that's cool. When you think of cool, you think of green, you think of blue sky, you think of misty days, like da da da. When you think of warm, you're gonna think of spice and seasoning and sunshine and roses and things like that. That's all on this side of your color wheel. So if you notice here, what I did is I had my red, then I went into an orangey color, and if you look down here, you can see those values of that mixed with white orangey color. And then I went into my yellow over here because this is brightness, this is warmth. So if I want it warmer, I'm gonna go to my brightest warm. If I wanted it cooler, I could go over into my blues. I would think of greens as being like a brighter cool, and then I would think, because they've got yellow in it. And actually, okay, I'm like talking myself into my own color theory here. But everything on this cool side has a little bit of yellow, green, that kind of stuff. And then as you get into the cools, you're gonna get into your purples. They're just super like comforting, and your blues. So it's a whole world. You guys are books and books and books and books and books on this. If you go to some of the computer hex colors, there are 859,000 million colors of paint, and it's infinite.
Yeah.
So, yay, that's encouraging.
Well, and you know what? Melia said, thank you. That makes so much sense.
Okay.
So
perfect.
You got it. You
Yeah.
nailed it.
All right, you guys, thank you so much. Hard subject, but I hope that we didn't melt your hippie noodles too bad. And we will see you guys next week.
Bye.